Okay then. So listen, this is a serious matter. We've been talking about faulty traffic lights for weeks now. And it's not just an Accra problem. In fact, everywhere in this country where you will find traffic lights, you will find faulty ones. Kumasi is no exception. Let's demonstrate. Our very own Emmanuel Quaicoe has been paying attention to this problem in the Garden City. He joins us now. He's with Love FM, and of course, he's been plying the streets to give us the state of the traffic lights there. Emmanuel, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
So, I mean, is it just an Accra problem? What's the state of the Kumasi traffic lights?
All right, so Kojo, this is not only peculiar to Accra alone. The situation is also similar here in Kumasi. And generally, or even the Ashanti region, for over the years now, the traffic situation or the traffic light situation has not really improved. And I can report that in some specific locations, especially the Amokom traffic light, even the Angloga Junction traffic light, which was promised by the government that there was going to be an intersection, have not really had any improved traffic light situation. And also can report at the Bawumia Sports Stadium, it's also similar, and even at the Quaicoe Junction, there are some dysfunctional traffic lights over there. So I would want to begin at the Amokom traffic light, where most of the time you would normally find the traffic light not working. Especially in the evenings, when you use this particular stretch, the drivers normally would have to logically determine who goes or have the right of way to use that particular stretch. So just across that particular stretch, there's a branch road that leads to the Bawumia Sports Stadium. So vehicles that are coming from the Bawumia Sports Stadium into the main Amokom traffic light, or the one closer to the Children's Park, would have to decipher how they would maneuver their way into the main road. So normally, it's a bit difficult for them. But hopefully this morning when I was passing, I realized the lights have been on. But when I came to Angloga Junction, where I'm currently standing, and the traffic light has been off since yesterday, it's been quite difficult for the drivers over here. You know, it's a major road over here, so it connects the Ashanti region or even the southern part of the country to the northern part. So we have these heavy trucks using the stretch. So this morning I've seen a police or an officer from the MPCD, that's the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, trying to conduct or make these drivers have their way through this particular intersection. But you also move on to Quaicoe, but it's just right after the Angloga Junction. And the Quaicoe Junction, I must say that it's closer to the Quaicoe Municipal Assembly. So just some meters away from that particular junction, you would find the Municipal Assembly over there. But unfortunately for that particular traffic light, it goes on and off. Usually you wouldn't find this particular traffic light working most of the time. So if, let's say, yesterday was Monday, if you find it working on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, for the rest of the week, it will be difficult for you to also find it again working at that particular junction. And what I believe that it is more dangerous is that when you get to that particular side, it's quite steep. So when the drivers are actually descending, they come at top speed. So they descend really with top speed. And just at the junction, there's also a branch route that goes into the Angloga Township. So where you have the Angloga indigents over here there. So if any driver is coming from the Angloga Township to that particular junction at Quaicoe, normally they would have to take their time. I recall there was a time there was a near clash between a car I was in and then even some particular a car that was driving by. So the driver was actually moving faster. It's a hill, so he was descending at top speed. And unknowingly, he just realized that there was a car coming from the other side. That's the branch into the main road. And I can say that road is also part of the Kumasi-Accra highway. So it's a bit, it connects to the other parts of the country. So it's a bit heavy when these things happen over there. It's a bit dangerous for you to use that particular stretch. So that's generally the situation. I can also report that at Bawumia Sports Stadium, I am told that the traffic lights just close to the Hills Park and the Bawumia Sports Stadium also has similar situation. And for a year now, according to the residents, for a year now, the traffic light has not been working. So if you want to use the traffic light, especially when there is a match at the stadium, drivers really would have to halt instantaneously and make the pedestrians cross the road. And even the pedestrians themselves, they have to be careful when crossing this particular stretch. So generally, that's the situation here in the Ashanti region, where we have some of these lights not functioning, or even if they are functioning for just some few days, it just goes off. But when you go to, let's say, KNUST, that's my observation. When you go to KNUST, because they have a solar-powered traffic light system, it doesn't really go off most of the time. So it's always on, so it's easy traffic flow for them. But when you come into the city proper, that's not the situation, because you don't have these solar-powered traffic lights. It always goes on and off. Whenever there's light out or power outage, it just goes off. Just like yesterday when the rain set in and the lights went off, so the traffic lights were not functioning at all. So this the situation here in Ashanti region.
So Emmanuel, I mean, have you heard anything from the Department of Urban Roads regarding, these lights that have been left, unrepaired for such a long time?
Well, we've not really heard much from the road transport, the motor traffic and transport department. We've not really heard much from them on why these traffic lights are not actually working here in the region. They can't really tell us the reason why it's not actually. But I think that since they have the personnel to direct these particular traffic, that's what I think. That's the reason why most of these things have not been attended to. So that's basically, they've not really said anything to us yet.
Right. I want to thank you very much for that update, clearly painting a picture of the situation with traffic lights in Kumasi and the ensuing traffic situation caused by it. Emmanuel Quaicoe is with Love FM. All right, let's bring in our guest. Engineer Mahama Abdullah is no stranger to our show. He's a civil engineer, road and building consultant. Engineer Abdullah, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Quaicoe. How are you?
Not bad. Now, later we'll be talking about these way bridges and, the complaint of the roads minister. But these traffic lights are of interest to me. Now, I found a story online, just written last month in July, on the 18th of July, 2023, by the Daily Graphic. Linda Sa is the writer of this story. And she spoke to the Department of Urban Roads after counting about 123 traffic lights that were either not functioning or without light bulbs, or they had bulbs hanging from the pole, or damaged poles, but basically the lights were not working. 123 of them on 14 major routes. Now, she spoke to the Department of Urban Roads, in fact, their road safety engineer, Pat Oni, who said that the situation has been caused by a combination of theft of some important components, vandalization, including fires, and rodents, as well as vehicular accidents. Okay, so she says, look, some of the underground electrical cables for the lights have been either stolen or damaged by rodents due to poor sanitation around the traffic lights, while motor accidents have also destroyed some. But this is the thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, Engineer Mahama. She says it is expensive to repair traffic lights, especially where certain components go missing. Is that the problem? Is it that we are currently broke and so we can't afford to fix the lights when they break down?
Well, this is a very sensitive discussion. I want to say a good morning to all your listeners, those who are on Facebook and those who are listening to you live in their cars, in their offices, everywhere. I'm sure that the story would have hinted the interviewer or the person who was interviewed to say that a lot of the issue or the challenge was financial. Because, in fact, most of your sister stations, including yourselves, have interviewed a lot of these contractors who mostly are supposed to maintain who have been contracted by the Department of Urban Roads to maintain and install some of these broken down or non-functional traffic lights across the capital, if not the country. And it's just been that, like the normal complaint or the answer you hear from all of them, saying that largely some of them have not been paid over the past year.
But you see, engineer, forgive me for interrupting, but you see, these things have an impact, an untold impact on real lives every day. I want to give you an example. Mamavi, Owusu-Aboagye, at the moment, as we are speaking, is at the TUC building, okay, where exactly what we are describing is happening. Mamavi, if you can hear us, Mamavi, talk us through the situation there.
Yeah, hi, Kojo. I've been to the psychiatric traffic lights. We've been talking about that. And I've moved now to the TUC traffic lights, where obviously the traffic light is not functioning. It's drizzling lightly, though. And so you have a police officer fortunately directing traffic. But what it means is that the police officer is just standing in the rain and directing the traffic. Vehicles are moving. And, of course, in line with our Drive Safe campaign, we want to highlight this issue because we've been reporting on it for weeks now, and the situation remains the same. There's somebody, a shoemaker who's stationed here, who says that it's actually been a very long time since he saw the traffic lights working. He's been observing what happens here when there are no police officers to direct traffic. I quickly want to get to him so that he can share the experience with us live on air. And he will speak to you. I'll do the translation. Master, good morning. Yeah, that's to say what agree. Tell me that I will join us. Debbie, your radio. So now, we are Jumawaha. For how long the traffic lights no one say
several more than 1 year.
Now, Dana police phone about direct traffic.
Umbe dalati. Maybe Amuba. Umbe yes. Say accident and so better.
So he says that the traffic light has been down. This particular one of the TUC area has been down for about a year. Police officers would come here to direct traffic. But then ACC because light no any juma. Then I would do 1 year.
Accident will be Accident will be Oh, captain pimping no work for. Any more issue you like in the South from there. Now should be na happy.
Na say enipa twema eno nso omutimi twem say police ni enni ho na say enipa twema
ani kam na yebu police ni twem enni wa ani kam na yebu bi say omuso wo mo bua ma bibia ye fine na munyi won ya ka no bobo bonkofo wo wa ye tra ba wo meye na ha no should be mlem
na ye pro saying
the family ya boati
okay ya boati ya da sebe say wona ya kasa so Owusu-Aboagye is a shoemaker. He's stationed right at this intersection, and he's been observing what happens here. He's been talking to me about accidents that happen here, obviously because the traffic lights are not functioning, particularly when there are no police officers to direct traffic. Right now, the police officer is standing in the middle of the road, directing traffic, regulating the vehicles. But the question we continue to ask is, for how long can he be on his feet doing the job of the traffic lights? From here, we're going to the Kimbu area. That's also a place where the traffic lights has not been working for a while now, and the Accra High Street. So basically, Kojo, what we've been talking about for weeks, the situation has not changed. Fortunately, at this very moment, there is a police officer directing traffic.
Wow, Mamavi, thank you for that. Obviously, this traffic buildup is easily translated into productivity, loss of productivity by Ghanaians who are just trying to get to work to make a living. Engineer Mahama is on the other line, and you started to make the point about the cost, and the fact that there are contractors who are yet to be paid, even though their job is to maintain these traffic lights. They are yet to be paid. If you wanted to expand on that.
Yeah, but I'm saying that, those contractors that I think over the years or over the period, we have been interviewed on most of your sister stations, yourself and other stations, have all made the same statement that payments have not been effected. Others are yet to receive payment. Others have been receiving half of their pay. So, if it's not because of finance, can you actually justify why the traffic light shouldn't be working? I don't think that anybody at the Department of Urban Roads doesn't know the value of having a signalized intersection functioning. The fact that there will be smooth transition of vehicles from one location to the other, there will be proper routine coordination, there will be time for pedestrians to cross the road. All these are basic engineering things that everybody, in fact, including the cleaner at the urban roads, knows about. So if they are not functioning, then it's as a result of some of this. And I think that we may have to sustain the reporting. In fact, you can even do a poll where you can let people even call in every morning to give you the situation that they find themselves in within their corridor, and you'll be able to get a certain fair idea how many traffic lights are actually not functioning. But this brings to mind, you see, the report that the Ghana Daily Graphic item was saying that the engineer at the urban roads was stating that some of the components are very expensive. Mm-hmm. The last time there was an interview of such, there was this one traffic light at the Banyard Road, which I'm told is been fluctuating over the past 1 year. And when they were interviewed, they said that the control, in fact, the control unit is the one who's supposed to actually segment or give traffic to this side, where this place is supposed to stop, this place was moving. So that control unit was stolen. That was what we were told. And that at that time, it was about 8 months ago, I was told it was in the region of about 60,000 Ghana cedis. And I don't know why we cannot actually cordon up that place once we know that is a major component that's supposed to control the whole crossroad. And if it is not secured well and we allow this thievery to continue even from the outside, the general public, then we will have a long way to go. One of the most important things when it comes to the traffic light is that I've had a confrontation with some of the MTTD officers, and I was amazed by the comment that I heard from them. So, in as much as government will be so tight, most of the traffic light, if you see the traffic light hanging, it's as a result of a knockdown.
Yeah.
Most of them are as a result of knockdown vehicles who are to outwit the amber, the yellow sign, and then before you realize, before the other cars also come from the other, they veer off the road and then they go into this stationed poles to break the stem, the stand, and then damage the light. I have seen a lot of the police who, after testing these vehicles, in fact, I'm using an example of what the confrontation I had with one of the MTTD officers in Accra.
Right.
That why were we supposed to surcharge a driver who had damaged guardrails? It's not a government property. I was scandalized. Then I realized that, in fact, a lot of education had to go to the MTTD themselves. Because after a vehicle runs into any of the road furniture, be it guardrails or the street lights or the traffic light in particular, after testing the vehicle, that vehicle will not be allowed to go free that we have finished our testing so the driver can come and take the impounded vehicle away. You need to engage the Department of Urban Roads for that locality to now take the matter on and then value the cost of damage, and that vehicle's insurance must take that aspect of the bill. So you cannot, if it's due to negligence or is deliberate. I don't understand why an MTTD officer, and in this case, possibly not one of them, maybe more than half of them, may not be abreast with this situation. They just test the car, come and take your before car and the person is left to go, because this was a high officer who was interacting with me, because in fact he invited one of our officers who, as an engineer, who had told one police unit that the vehicle that had damaged 8 of our guardrails must not be allowed to leave until they deal with the Ghana Highway Authority. And this man was questioning the gentleman, and I came in. So this is something that, in fact, this your program should educate all the MTTD officers
in the country that when any vehicle runs into a traffic light, a street light, or any other road furniture, after the testing is done by the police, they must. It's something. It's not like they may. They must release the car into the hands, or they must engage the officers of that particular unit who are in charge of the traffic light or the street light or the guardrails or whichever, so that then the insurance company will take their bill. So that once you are done with your clearing, you don't want the car to be impounded to actually block your space, because they don't have space at their police station anyway. So mostly they want to just free the cars, and the cars will just be taken by the owners. This must be something that we should do, because if you look at Quaicoe traffic light, look at the barnyard. Some of them, they are just knockdowns. Look at the one on the barnyard towards that Owusu stretch. Because of the nature of the curves, most of them are knockdowns. They hit, the vehicles run into them. And the police go in and test, and they allow them to go. So in as much as we want to see how best we can we get this issue resolved, money is a challenge.
There's
Education to the police
is
supposed to be mandatory in getting some of these vehicles to foot for the bills of the damages vehicles on the road. Because either they are third party or comprehensive. The third party insurance means that your car is not insured, but any other facility that you have damaged, how much more comprehensive insurance?
Engineer Mahama, there's another aspect to this. The same engineer, Ms. Oni, also talked about Graphic Road. She said that in that case, it's difficult to locate some of the cables that lead to the traffic lights due to the choked gutters in the area.
Wow.
Yeah, she's saying that some of the essential components, including cables, which are kept in controller chambers along the streets, have also been damaged by fire, sometimes set by residents and hawkers who are burning their rubbish. All right, and this is a direct quote. She says most of them even go to the extent of burning rubbish in the controller chambers, thinking they are empty chambers, destroying the cables connected to the traffic lights. Okay, so there is a certain aspect of unpoliced human activity which is leading to this. First of all, the filth that is gathering in the gutters. I mean, how filthy can a gutter get to the point where you can't locate a cable? But that's happening. Then they are burning their refuse in the controller chambers. I mean,
we need to just, in this case, you see, some of them is just education. We need to cordon up the place properly and have a lot of information science on the fence, whichever material they are using to cordon off that particular control. You may have to have a lot of information science around them, like keep off, this is a property, this is supposed to deal with this in, and then intermittently, the urban roads officers may have to go to these areas and then sustain the education of the people who are living within, so that they become each other's keeper. Watchdog committee, like people should be able to be like informant. What you are doing is not, it will lead to damage to this thing. So somebody may have, and contact has to be left there, because people want to make complaints, but they don't know who to call. It's not always the assemblyman or that, because some of the assemblymen don't even know who are. You see, the urban roads have area managers who are supposed to actually be managing a certain area. They go beyond constituencies or districts. Sometimes one engineer will take about maybe 2-3 districts because of the proximity. And then I think one of the issues will be as a result of the floods. You know, if you talk about the graphic road areas where we have some of these inundation of flood waters coming in to choke all those places. So maybe we may have to revise how these conduit and cables are actually the openings, because you need to have openings so that when you come to do some repair, you can sleep out. So maybe they have to redesign some of the places where they have this open, so that it might be much tighter to avoid getting debris into those chambers. So when you come to do any repair works, you can actually sleep out and then do those works effectively, and then you put the traffic back to function. But the solar has not been. Remember, President Kufuor stated these solar panels to have solar traffic lights all how many years ago? And they have seen some few ones in the system. Like I'm saying, when a vehicle damages them and is left to go, we are back to square one. We don't have anything to do in that area, because some of them are isolated cases where they are supposed to have their control just within that stretch. And then vehicles run into them, and then we are allowed to go. we have to start to complain, or ourselves, the individual, we may have to start to be more concerned about some of these edifices that belong to you and I, so that anytime we see any of such thing, we can just take a picture or a video and let's make some conscious effort to find out who is in charge of this area. If we are not getting information from readily available from some of these departments who are supposed to get some of these contacts, official contact. We don't necessarily need your personal number or whatever, but you have official contact. People can just call in and make some of this complaint with the car numbers, and so at least it can be traceable at the DVLA when those vehicles are allowed to go by the police.
Right, if you just joined us, engineer Mahama Abdullah is a civil engineer. We've been talking as part of our Drive Safe campaign about traffic lights and the growing number of non-functioning traffic lights across the country. The situation in Kumasi is no better than that in Accra, and we've been trying to understand why things are so bad. Now, before you leave us, engineer Mahama, let's touch on the roads minister's rant. And he's very, very upset about the corrupt people who work for his ministry, who are manning these way bridges, and allowing trucks that violate the axle load restrictions to ply our roads, causing damage to these roads. And of course, failing to collect the revenue that is supposed to come in from these way bridges, to ensure that these drivers are properly fined and do not violate the law. Let's talk about this. I mean, what is this corruption he's talking about? And how are these officials taking advantage of the system to our detriment?
First and foremost, I would say, like a bulletin, the axle load lapses is a nightmare to any contractor who has done a good road. I repeat, axle load lapses is a nightmare to any contractor or any engineer who has supervised a very good road. Because you can supervise a very big road today, and depending on the nature of the vehicle that will run on that particular stretch of a road, no matter how good your design has, you have a certain factor of safety when you are doing your design. So what happens is that before, let's say we are doing motorway, what goes into the design is that you have to do your traffic count. You now segment or segregate the difference between all the classification of vehicles that you counted before you did your pavement design. So you count the light trucks, you have the passenger car unit, the saloon cars, light trucks, then you go to those axles in terms of their weight. And then you factor all this in your design. Then you go to the axle load control point and you pick their data of possible vehicles that have gone beyond the limit. And you have to factor all this in your consideration for a pavement design to be done. Now, when you have done a very good road based on the volume of traffic, the ASARs that you have generated over the design period, and you have done the pavement design for the construction to be done. And let me say, just after constructing the road, maybe let's say from the Shama roundabout, you have vehicles which are now violating the very essence of the design that has been done and the control from the checkpoint. Now, when you allow these vehicles to move onto the road will become fatigued immediately. In a matter of days or so, then the contractor is blamed, the engineer is blamed, and somebody sitting at some axle load station there who may be engaging in some of this. So the minister's run, I think last 2 years, he made the same complaint. This is the second time the road minister has mentioned the same thievery of the situation. I don't think that it's just about changing the personnel that will bring about the solution. You need to actually have plenty of the mobile axle load vans. Let me give you the situation. On the Accra to Kumasi road, the first one is located around in Sawam. Yeah. Now, I saw this in 2011 or 2010. I was on a storyboard with my boss, and the trailer had stopped somewhere about a kilometer or two before the axle load station. And a light truck, Kia, came behind, and then they offloaded some of the goods on the truck. And then the vehicle moved to the axle load station, went through the axle load, the weight. It was considered satisfactory. Then about 2 kilometers after, this Kia came on and then started unloading. May his soul rest in peace. My boss had passed. I went with him to the place. We policed the activity and we got them back by the to the axle load to get to weigh again, and they impounded the truck. So these are some of the things that if we see any truck closing up to an axle load station and we see any offloading today, any Ghanaian should be concerned to be one of the, to be able to police through the activity to get some of them, because these are done by the Ghanaian. The Kia may not know why he's engaging himself. He thinks that maybe he's just like, oh, this is a weight, I can just load again and go. Not knowing that any truck that goes across that way and is actually at which the people who are at the axle station, we are undermining the road integrity. Now, this is one of the things that we have to do, because they know the stationed axle load locations. They are able to outwit it whichever way they find themselves. But we have about 18 of the functioning axle load stations across the country as I speak. I think we are 18 to 22. Now we have only about 4 of the mobile vans which are actually moving from location to location. So in the next time, the mobile axle van should be able to come to like Achimota and then manage the traffic there well, and just maybe pick 2-3 cars and move somewhere so that the people would not know where exactly the axle locations are, so that before you see Jack, you're already parking your car. We are taking your load across the scale. If it goes beyond the limit, you are being sent to the court to be fined, because I'm told that the maximum fine on the axle is about 5,000 Ghana cedis. So do we have to depend on 5,000 Ghana cedis? You see, one of the things I should let listeners know is that the axle load is not to generate revenue. The core mandate of the axle load is not to generate revenue to the government. It's supposed to prevent excessive load so that the very expensive road constructed would travel the lifespan. Now I'm saying that an axle dual asphalt road pavement layer would cost in the region of about 3.6 to 4 million United States dollars per kilometer. Can you imagine how many 5,000 we can recoup from one time faulting of the road from these vehicles which are going beyond Ghana to Burkina Faso, to Cote d'Ivoire, to Chad, to Niger and beyond. And when they get to their country, when they just cross Paga, sanity prevails. They cannot do that, like the minister rightly said. So why are we aiding the people in our country, the people who are coming from other countries, to come and load and damage their road? And the next 2 weeks, I know because Joy FM is not aware of this one, that the contractor has not done a very good job, because it didn't stay even for 5 years. And this is a reason that the minister has to be concerned, and we have to make sure that we digitize the axle load stations by having about 3 agencies. Not if you allow one agency to be called, to be in charge, they might become. People will just have. Because you know that Mama is the one there, or Kojuasin is there. When there's a problem, nobody's watching the other person's back. But when you have interconnected agencies, the BNI is part of it. The national security is part of the people who are actually monitoring from their offices what is happening at the control point when the car is going across the axle load. What data is being picked? Is it sending signal directly to the national security, or the BNI, or the DHA, and the Ministry of Finance, so that we can actually know that every station that the axle load is going across, the vehicles are going across the station, there are about 4 agencies who are watching whatever, so that there will not be that easy compromise. Because I know Youngson is here, I'm also here, so we can just meet ourselves and then compromise on whatever is happening at the station. This is the way to go on this axle load, because otherwise we will do the most expensive routes in the country. They will not even travel 25% of their design lifespan, and sadly, that is happening across the country. When you go to some of the western region areas, I'm seeing a lot of this timber being logged out of the forest. And if you see 3 logs on a truck, and it goes through all these agri stations, you have to beat. Same applies to the bauxite that are coming from the port. In the 80s or the 70s, when some of us were not born, the trains were doing this work around the Axim area, the western region area, to take this bauxite to and fro. Now we are allowing the vehicles to load this bauxite and manganese on the roads. And if you go to the western area, the Hafu area, the roads are so sorry to report on them.
So the minister says he keeps firing people and hiring new ones, and the new ones come and they are worse than the ones he fired. You're suggesting some sort of interconnectivity between agencies. I mean, but even the example you described, where the truck offloaded the extra weight, went and did the weighing, and then after that loaded the extra weight onto it again.
Yes.
How would your proposed solution fix that particular malpractice?
That is why I was saying that there should be a lot of the mobile vans. You see, the vehicle will only engage in that activity when he knows that it is only one station at point T. The location doesn't move. Okay? But if before Jack, the location has been moved 3 kilometers either before or after. So when you have the mobile vans, which are actually not stationed at one location, we have about 4 now. Let's say we have about 20 of the mobile vans, or let's say we have about 10 in number and beyond. And they are moving on the road. Today, they decide to set up at Amasaman. It means that they have actually taken about 8 kilometers away from the distance. So before the trailer gets there, preparing to go towards Mid-Year or Hebron, about 2 kilometers to get to the axle load station, he's already there. So the mobile vans are supposed to be more in the system so that they will move closer, they will move further away. So sometimes let me say that the mobile, the axle location has moved under 8 kilometers from the existing location. That becomes cost. The driver now bears a lot of cost because he feels that, okay, I'm going to Nsawam Junction and that's where the location is. Then I decide to hire a Kia. The Kia offloads some of my goods. And now the Kia has to travel with the trailer about maybe 15 kilometers more because he's not in the axle load at the same location. So the more he travels, he would have paid, in fact, the fine would have been more cheaper than hiring the Kia to follow him for another 20 kilometers. So the actual station is not. The only station that we can have fixed at one location is the one at the port. Secondly, anywhere we have any bridge, especially the Bailey bridges, the steel bridges, which have a certain design weight, that if you go beyond the weight, like what happened last 2 years around the Western region, a contractor was working and went across a 10-ton weight and then it collapsed. But that one, I'm very happy that GHA settled the contractor. He was made to pay full, and the GHA moved into the bridge the maintenance unit, went in to construct a new the Bailey Bridge. So we have to alter the location of the axle load so that the driver who is actually trying to outwit the ministry would have it very difficult because sometimes it is about 2 kilometers before him, 10 kilometers away, 17 kilometers before him. So the traveling time of that uncertainty alone will deter them from doing that. And most importantly, the digitization, getting the CCTV working effectively. The more you have this digitized system, the more you try to eliminate, if not completely, the so-called, or let me say, the alleged corruption that happens. Can be so-called alleged corruption that we're having with it, because for us, we've not been privy with the people that the minister has actually sacked. It has happened over the past 2 years. I'm sure that he sacked a lot of people, and they, like he said, they recruited more people, and then this system continues. But if you're having a lot of human face, where you don't have to have digitized control system to actually man these places to coordinate properly, then we'll have this human interference every day on our as well. And then what I am sorry about is that we, the contractors and the consultants and the engineers, are doing very good rules. Some are very, very good rules. Unfortunately, 1 month of an overloaded truck constantly on a very good route, which has a design lifespan of 20 years, would come to about 5 years. And that 15 years that you have actually eliminated or taken out because of overloaded trucks is a huge cost to the country of Ghana. Because every kilometer, like I'm saying, all things being equal, we're talking about $4 million, if not more. to do a dualized road. And so if you have done, let's say, 30 kilometers of a road and multiplied by $4 million, and within 5 years, the road which was supposed to span 20 years had now failed, and then you need such amount again to go and construct a new road. And somebody is sitting in a small axle load station, allegedly, just filling his pocket at the detriment of everybody who is complaining about bad roads and the fact that government doesn't have enough money to actually expand the road network in the country.
Engineer Mahama Abdullah, we want to thank you so much for your insights this morning, giving us a look under the hood, so to speak, of the system that seems to be failing to keep overloaded trucks off our roads. Engineer Mahama is a civil engineer and a road and building consultant. Thank you so much. Now, Edgar Wiredu is an insurance marketer, but above all that, he's a Ghanaian. He's affected by these things just like you and me. And he joins us right now on the phones. Edgar, good morning to you.
Good morning to you and all the guys in the studio.
Yeah. Now, I know you were listening to the conversation about traffic lights. What's on your mind?
Well, this has been a problem I've raised on so many occasions. The traffic lights and then the street lights. But let's thank Engineer Mahama for, the kind of education and then expose that given to us here. I want to say one thing, that when it comes to the traffic lights and then the street lights, some police officers, responsible police officers, always ensure that those who damage these lights pay for them. And most of these people walk to the insurance company, and the insurance companies prepare the check and then sends it to the police. I have been involved in about 7 or 8 cases like this myself, personally, I know. But there are some police officers who will take the money, they will tell the drivers that it's going to cost you this amount of money. They take the money and then they pocket it. Because when the guys come to the insurance company, they tell us that they have paid the money to the police, so they are making the claim. We know the police officers take the money and then they chop it. That the interesting point here is about the other engineer that talks about the the traffic lights at the graphic road, talking about the fact that some weeds or filth or something that has covered the cables. My brother, that is no excuse. We need to appoint resourceful people into office, not just because they have some paper qualification. How is it possible that the sunlight, the energy the sun produces in 1 hour, is more than enough to power the whole world's energy requirement? I'm not talking about Ghana. The whole world's energy requirement, 1 hour of sunlight is enough to give us that energy. And we are sitting here with all the digital things that our Dr. Bawumia is making. We cannot put these traffic lights and street lights under solar. You know one thing? Go to Kigami's country, for Kigami, because of traffic lights, street lights going off, people are fired. Go there today and see whether when you drive in the night, you will see one street light off. The president himself at times decides to just drive around looking for signs like this. And the moment he sees one, the boss is fired, not the subordinate who was supposed to go and then fix it. If we sit in this country and we get the wrong people in offices, just because you say the man has all the degrees, but such a person is unresourceful, undynamic, these are the problems we face. It's about time we got the right people in offices and make sure things are working. For those of us in the insurance industry, we have a lot of claims coming as a result of these faulty traffic lights, and then bad roads. Some roads that, some of the asphalt are so thick that they absorb your light in the night when you are driving. You cannot see a certain distance. Before you are aware, some human being is just crossing the road and then you hit the person. And it is all lack of these street lights. And this matter has been there for how many years and nobody seems to care. Meanwhile, people are being paid. On monthly basis, they are being paid. So what kind of country is this? To the next point, when Engineer Mahama talks about the cost in doing the asphalt road, talking about $3 to $4 million. My brother, if our thermal oil refinery were to be working, we will not be importing bitumen, which makes the cost of the road doing so expensive. If our thermal oil refinery were to be working, we will get the bitumen from there and it will bring the cost down totally. These are the issues that as citizens we should concern ourselves with and speak to the issue, and not the plenty grammar and everyday lecture, talk, feminist workshop, which brings nothing. Only go and drink tea and cream crackers. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Edgar.